So we're going.
Okay, welcome everybody to City Council meeting tonight in Spanish Fork City. I know some guys back there. How we doing? Thanks for joining us in person and online, on YouTube, all around the world. We appreciate you being here tonight, August 6, 2024. We'll get started just like we always do in Spanish Fork with a prayer and the pledge. Councilman Marshall has the prayer tonight, and Councilman Cardin has the pledge. Councilman Marshall, you got the prayer.
Oh, it's my turn?
Let us pray.
All right. No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I have asked Jack, our new public involvement coordinator.
Information officer.
Oh, that's bad. I got P right.
He's got it.
You got the PI right.
I got the PI right. So thank you, Jack. Maybe take 2 minutes and tell us about yourself before you launch in.
Before the prayer?
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Urquhart, I'm really happy to be here. I've been working for the city for a few months. I'm from Orem originally. I love baseball. I love cities. I've loved my time at Spanish Fork City so far. So that's a little bit about me. I've got a wife, 3 kids. They're awesome.
Perfect.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity to gather and talk about the affairs of this great city. We're thankful for this community and all the members who help make it something special. We're thankful for the members of this council and the mayor and for their consideration and their efforts to continue to make Spanish Fork City a wonderful place to be. We pray that will bless us, that we can be inspired, and that will continue to help the city become a united and great place for people to live and visit and grow up. And we pray for these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Jack.
All right. Will the audience please arise and say the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. You'll notice we're missing Councilman Euler for a bit here. He has got some affairs to attend to, and then we'll try to have him back at the end of our meeting here tonight. So we wish him well, and we'll see him soon. Takes us to item C on our opening part of the agenda. Mr. Chief Johnson has some business for us.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It's always a privilege for me to introduce our new officers here at the police department. So, Tyler, if I could have you come forward, please. It's a privilege for me to introduce Tyler Moos, our latest hire at the police department. Tyler's been working for us part-time for about a year. He came on board full-time a month ago. Prior to that, he was working full-time for Santaquin City for about 2.5 years. And then prior to that, he served in the National Guard full-time for 6 years. So while he's been working part-time for us, he's done a great job. Very impressed with his work ethic and his knowledge and his communication and interaction with the citizens. He just brings a lot of positivity to our department, and it's great to bring him on as our latest addition to the police department. He's here with his wife, Lexi, daughter, Jordan, and Raylan. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I will let you perform the oath of office and swear him in as the newest member of the police department.
Perfect. I'll come right down there. Tell us where it's good for mics. Are we good for mics? Are we getting it? Okay. Right here. Okay, Tyler, raise your right hand. I,
Tyler Austin Moos,
do solemnly swear
that
I will, to the best of my ability,
and
with the highest level of integrity, serve the people of Spanish Fork City,
and
and preserve,
protect, protect,
and defend
defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I offered the floor up to him for a few comments, but he said no, so.
Hey, Chief, what are we up to? How many does Tyler Moos put us up to, sworn officers?
He's number 42. He replaced Officer Warner when he retired the 1st of June.
Perfect. Okay. Well, welcome, Moos family. We appreciate you. Appreciate your good work, and appreciate you taking care of the citizens of Spanish Fork and everywhere around here. So, thank you. Welcome. Okay. That takes us to item 4, the public comments section of the agenda. Anybody from the public that would like to address the council on any items that aren't on the agenda?
Mayor, before we hey,
good.
little Lexi, you might want to. She can take the elevator down if it's that cute little girl. She comes up those stairs and she was just huffing.
She huffing?
She was just huffing.
Yeah.
There are too many stairs. It was really cute, super cute. Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we've got an elevator.
That's how I feel sometimes coming up those stairs.
Yes, public comment. Anybody that would like to address the mayor and council, please state your name so Tara can get it in the record.
I'm doomed.
And we'd love to hear from you.
Darren Meller, and Mayor, City Council, staff, everybody. I just want to get up here really quickly and just say thank you from the bottom of my heart. The Fiesta Days, everything was awesome. It's amazing, the community, the feel of community. I know that all the behind-the-scenes work that goes into this, and if you spend any time on Facebook, you'll see a lot of negativity and not enough positivity. We went to the rodeo 3 times. We went to every event that was there, I think, almost every event, and everything was just smooth, fun, positive, and uplifting, and that's really what a city needs. A city needs that community feel. And even though Shane hit me in the face with a shirt and knocked my glasses off, I got a shirt out of the deal that I proudly wear, and I really love that. But I just really want to make sure you guys here, thank you. And everyone behind the scenes. There was so many behind-the-scenes people I know, from the concerts in the park and everything, the car show, so many people behind the scenes. It was just a fabulous, fun, well-run event. And everyone that I spoke with had a wonderful time. It was amazing. And I know there's some complaints out there, but I didn't see anything worth complaining about. So everything was marvelous. So I just want to say thank you very much to everyone involved. And I know there's a ton that's not out there for everyone to see, but I mean the police department, everybody was just amazing the entire time. I really enjoyed it, and it was fun to bring my kids, my grandkids, and neighbors, and just everything. It was wonderful. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
It was the best throw of the night, by the way.
You were warming up for
I was
weeks
warming up.
for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't throw anymore, but
Well,
Count Argyle,
Councilman
Spanish Fork citizen.
Argyle, right here.
Shane, are you going to leave? The last 3 times I've come up here, you get up and leave when I come walking
I
up.
was going to wait until you finished, and then I'm...
Okay.
He's got nowhere to be tonight.
First of all, I just thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing a few minutes. About a year ago, during the rodeo, this man, Mayor Mendenhall, put his arm around me and walked off to the side and whispered in my ear that I was going to miss this stuff. And I have some history with the mayor. I had the opportunity to drive truck with his grandpa, Lynn, and his dad, John, was the river commissioner, while my father-in-law owned a lot of ground and farm on the thing, so I had a lot to do with him. And Mike was a good friend to my oldest boy from the time they were in preschool. Their halo wasn't always, sometimes down around their ears, but he was the kind of friend that you like your kids to have. But anyway, I wanted to tell him thanks. I haven't missed anything more than the opportunity that I had to associate with the high quality of people that you guys are, the department heads and the employees of this great city. I wanted to tell you the same and second the fact that you know that my favorite time was Fiesta Days. We take that book and I lay it on the calendar, and so each day I can look and see what's going on. For the first time in, we figure, about 15 years, I was allowed to sit with my family. I served 8 years with the city, and before that, I had the opportunity with a truck and a trailer, and I had the opportunity to take cheerleaders and dance crews through Mapleton, Salem, and Spanish Fork City. So I never really got to sit with my family, but I got to do that. I was there at 7:30, and I stayed till it was over. Great experience. And what he says about our Fiesta Days is so wonderful, is the fact that it's about the families getting together and gathering and having that opportunity, and you guys make that happen, and I just want to say thank you. I do have one suggestion. I had a lot of people ask me about events, and I know that booklet, and I know it's on the website, but I kind of knew, and I don't know, just a suggestion, the publication of that. I don't know how far we go beyond. I know I get Provo cities, if it goes to the Lakeshore Benjamin.
Why? I am the person to answer that.
Okay.
All of Spanish Fork and Salem zip codes and businesses.
Okay. What about Mapleton and so Lakeshore and Lake Benjamin? They would get it then,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yep, those zip
Anyway.
codes. The Salem 84653
Okay.
and 660.
That
Get
answers.
it.
So next time I can say, because it was some of them saying, it's like, did you get the book? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll open the book.
And Parks and Rec always has
Extra.
plenty of extra. So if you ever hear of anyone that wants any extra, have them
Okay.
just head on over to Parks and Rec.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and
Thanks,
your
Chad.
efforts.
It was good to see you at the parade
Yeah.
with your family
Everybody
waving.
there.
It was fun to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. We do have a new PIO that's replacing a PIO that, maybe would get the word out to more people. If more people want to come have fun, there's ways to do that.
Yep.
I mean, it's not
We
not,
upgraded PIOs.
That's
so
I was going to say that. But
Oh, my goodness.
it's time to upgrade our.
it's a great suggestion. Anyone else from the public for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to council comments. We'll start on this end with Councilman Took and work this way to Councilman Marshall.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So our president, Kathleen Levitt of the Chamber of Commerce, is not able to make it with us this evening, but she sent me all of her notes. And so bear with me as I read through some really important updates from the Chamber of Commerce. We have some exciting things happening. I know our last meeting was wonderful. We covered a lot of this. So here I go. We have Soul Reflexology. They're a foot zoning company here in town. They opened up last week. They're at 57 East, 1000 North here in Spanish Fork. Go check them out. We have Canyon Vance with Farm Bureau Financial Services. He, on August 22nd at noon, is a presentation. If you'd like to join, let us know. We can tell you about that. Also, Uptown Cheapskates is opening hopefully by the end of this month of August. And they are located on 1052 North Main Street in Suite B. They're currently hiring buyers and fashion consultants. So if you know anybody, send them their way to Uptown Cheapskates. We also have the Business of the Quarter, or Business of the Month, which is Stone Drug, and we hope to celebrate them on August 29th at noon. So that'll be a fun event there at Stone Drug. We also have the Community Partner of the Quarter, which is the Department of Workforce Services, and that event, celebrating them, will be on August 20th at noon. And then last item from them here is about the farmers market season. It has begun. A couple things I'd like to say about that. So every Saturday from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. is when you can catch the farmers market. It's located on 775 West Center Street, right behind the Justice Center, just down the street here, next to the SFCN building right there. The farmers are so appreciative of the community and support and patronage. Seniors who are financially struggling, they can stop by the chamber booth, which is right there at the beginning when you start. Anyway, they can stop by the chamber booth, and each week they're there. And if they stop by, they can qualify for senior low income vouchers, which is $100. Most of the booths are SNAP eligible. You can also run your EBT insurance cards at the Chamber booth, and they're offering double tokens up to $30 to buy produce at the market. So if you spend $30, you're actually receiving up to $60 in produce tokens to help eat healthy and local, and that's something amazing that our chamber does with the farmers market. So I know my family loves going, and they have so many options, so many different amazing vendors show up to support our community with the farmers market. So again, that's every Saturday, 8 to 1. And then just a couple of things. Let me just X out of this and swipe over to a couple of quick notes here. Just 3 things I wanted to mention. The last couple of weeks have been so exciting and eventful with Fiesta Days, and for me particularly being a new councilman, I've just loved it so much more. Anyway, I was able to announce the Children's Parade. If any of you were able to attend that was just a really wonderful event. Also, I was able to judge the Mr. and Miss Extraordinaire pageant just across the street. Another amazing newer event added to Fiesta Days. Got a picture or two up there. You can kind of see the participants, and we just had an amazing evening together, and just a wonderful feeling all around. And thanks, Jack. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was the library. They had the end of summer reading party. I think it was last week. Yes, and it was a camping theme downstairs. It was amazing the effort that the staff from the library put into that event. We had hundreds of participants show up, all these amazing young families. Reminded me when my kids were younger, and we just had so much fun. I was able to help do pictures. Also, I was able to go do a music time where we sang campfire songs, and I was the hype guy with with some instruments, and I did my best. But I had fun, and that is all I've got, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman Took. Councilman Cardin.
I think we need a picture of that.
Yeah, we'll find it. It's somewhere.
Hope there's not one.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. First, I want to start. I asked Chief Johnson to take some time to talk about. We have school starting back up in about a week. So talk about some of the things that are going on out the city to welcome the students back, and then also anything that you would like to tell the public about just that safety.
Yeah, thank you. We actually began preparing for the school year today with our crossing guard training. That was held this morning. We had a lot of repeat crossing guards come back, but we also had some new ones. So for those, it's a new training. For the repeat crossing guards, it's a refresher training for them. As I walked through the office today and saw all the smiles on our school resource officers' faces, I could know that school is going to be starting soon. They love to be in the schools with the students, and they just enjoy their interaction with the students and the faculty members, as well as some of the parents that they interact with as well. Next Wednesday, when school begins, we'll have officers at the elementary schools. The last couple of years, we've been to the schools where officers have been present and just welcoming the students back to school, wishing them good luck on their first day of school. And that's some great interaction that we have with the students as well as the faculty. We'll have extra enforcement around the schools as well as in the school zones. We'll have our speed trailers out as well. And I just want to encourage the citizens, please leave a little earlier in the mornings when school begins. Be attentive to your driving. Watch out for those students that are walking to school. We're going to have our officers out in force and just trying to make sure that everybody's safe. So it's a great time of year, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Chief.
Can I pile on that?
Yeah.
Just a little bit? I would suspect that most people are within 2 miles of their school. You can't make up 5 minutes of being late by driving 60 miles an hour to that school. It's impossible, so don't try. Go 15 like you should. I could probably say this every time we come here. Slow down. You do not need to be there that quickly, and you cannot make up the time, so don't try. Realize that your community members are walking to that school, the people that you grew up with, the people that you live next to. Those are the folks that are impacted by your speeding and your driving. It's not some foreign person out there somewhere. It is those folks that live in our community that you are impacting. Slow down. And thank you, Jesse, for bringing this up. It's a great opportunity to reinforce the idea that we just drive too fast, plain and simple. So slow down. Thanks, Chief.
Yeah. So next Wednesday, school starts for those that may not know that. So that's, be ready for those things. Also want to thank Chief Johnson and Chief Hill for the emergency night out last night at North Park. It was a great event. Live flight. I don't know if that was haven't seen it before. I assume it was the first year.
That was a new addition this year. So thanks to Chief Hells and his crew for coordinating that.
It landed and it blew everything away, and it was great. And a couple hot dogs went flying, but it was good. It was a good time. So thank you, and it was awesome to see all the kids out there, to be able to touch the vehicles, to be able to play with the sirens, wear the stuff, and just have a good time and have those interactions with police officers and the emergency service folks, because oftentimes when we meet them, it's not in our best of times, and so it's good to have those interactions beforehand so that when those do happen, that we're prepared for them, I guess. And then I think we'll all probably talk about Fiesta Days in one way or another, but Fiesta Days is such a cool time. It does take an army, as we talked about at the first, right? As we've talked about throughout Fiesta Days, so this here is the Youth City Council, and this is right before, I believe, the Children's Activity Day in the park, and it took a small army to make that happen, and I want to thank specifically the Youth City Council. Just that's a group I get to work with. And they are at almost every event that's available, setting up, taking down, participating, whether it's the flag ceremony, whether it's the children's or the baby contest. They're there making it happen. And I think for the Speedy Spaniard, they were there at 6 a.m. in the morning, and for teenagers in the middle of summer, that's probably not the easiest feat, but they were there. So thank you to them, and thank you to their leaders that made it happen. And they did it with that same smile on their face each time, too.
Could have an after picture.
Yeah, right? The paint on their faces, and yeah, exactly. And thank you, again, all the departments, Parks and Rec, Public Safety, all those people. I know there's a lot of time put into making sure it happens. The last picture I want to put here is, I think Chad kind of talked about it in his public comment, but one of the funnest parts about Fiesta Days is getting together as families, and this was kind of a fun picture. This was the last night of the rodeo, and I'm sure that, from a standard point, this isn't the right number of people in the back of a truck, but we piled in there and in the cab of the truck and everything, and it was a good time. My kids said it was the best night of the rodeo that they had, which I guess it was because they got to see Shane hitting people in the face with shirts or something like that. But just a good time, like has been mentioned, to get together with family, make memories, and to really, I think Fiesta Days embodies what we talk about when we talk about small town feel in Spanish Fork. This is what brings that, is coming together for these different events, putting a smile on our face, and just having a good time. We all have stuff going on in our life, but we can make time for events like this. It does make a world of difference. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Cardin. Appreciate that. Councilwoman Beck.
Well, I know you all know I could go on for a long, long time on Fiesta Days, so I have just shared a couple of photos, and I know I'm not going to fit everyone in, so the ones I'm going to highlight is our Grand Marshals, Dave and Susan Euler. They were at nearly everything. I loved that they were with us behind the scenes at the rodeo, riding through the arena every night. They were recognized at Sunday night in the park. The magazine, if you read that, told you what big hearts they have and how much they've given our community through their lifetime. So I just wanted to thank them for representing Spanish Fork City as our Grand Marshals this year. Oh, I don't know how that one popped in. That would just be a Seth Perrin's pay back to Stacy Beck on a bet he owed. Moving on. Sorry, Seth, I don't know how it slipped in. Our Miss Spanish Fork and her royalty were everywhere. They were busy for those 3 weeks, and here they are at the baby contest, which is a fun opportunity for them and their moms to judge the baby contest. And just wanted to thank those girls. They have so much fun. We see them every night at the rodeo and at all of the events, and I think it's truly their favorite week in their year of serving. And this committee, this is the executive committee. These are the people behind the scenes working all year. We will be meeting Monday to have our Fiesta Days debrief, where we will talk about what things went wrong, what things went right. And these guys just nailed it. I felt from my perception, that it was the most seamless Fiesta Days I've attended. It just went smoothly, and these guys are the ones we need to give credit to. And not just the three couples that are volunteers, but the Parks and Rec staff. There's so many staff members give so much to this event, but especially the Parks and Rec department. Is that all the photos? Okay. And then lastly, I wanted to give a shout out to the Mellors, who have only lived in Spanish Fork for how long now? 4 years, 5 years. And the Argyles, they are generations after generations, Chad, right? And I love that you both are able to come to these events and participate as little or as much as you want, and you both love it. Your families love it. And that's what it's all about, is to offer opportunities for families to be together, like Jesse said. So thank you for participating, and thank you everyone for coming, because it wouldn't be what it is if nobody showed up. So thank you everybody for enjoying the festivities. And then I just wanted to give a quick announcement for the Children's Market on Main. That is this Saturday, and it is over in the city park. It's from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m., and that is one of my favorite things to go to. A lot of children have pop-up tents and booths, and they're little entrepreneurs selling different things. They're learning how to engage with adults. They're learning how to handle money, make things at home all summer. It's just a really fun activity. So if you're available and can swing by the park between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Saturday, it's well worth your time. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Beck, and good work with you on Fiesta Days, too. We acknowledge the time you spend there is pretty enormous, so thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Councilman Marshall?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you, Stacy, for the time and effort. It doesn't go unnoticed. You run a really good group of people, and they have a good time, but they have a good leader to help them through this, so thank you very much for that. I can't imagine getting asked to do something with that big of a lift. I'd be absent more often, so don't ask. Mayor. I need to echo the thanks to city staff and all the volunteers. My brother and his wife got to volunteer this year. They got to volunteer this year.
Offer.
They did.
Yeah.
Ish. But they're like, wow, this is a lot. A lot goes into this. You just don't show up on the 24th and watch a parade, and it's a big deal. And if you're ever at the top of the parade route, watching a little bit of the chaos that evolves during that, there's a lot of coordination going on. It's amazing to watch. So thank you. Thank the first responders and our EMS folks. It's just without them, every time we go to the rodeo, one of Chief Johnson's folks is there with a big smile on their face, like, come on in, and just it's a long week for your group and Eddie's group, and it takes a bit of patience to make it through that week, and I appreciate that patience that your folks have. We got dropped off at the end of the parade, and I'm walking back, and someone stopped me, and they're like, "Man, this parade is long." I'm like, "Yep, it is." And you get to sit here and hang out with your family the entire time and enjoy it. They're like, well, oh, yeah, that's true. And they're like, well, how do you pick who gets to come? There's the first 100 people that sign up get to come. Mm-hmm. And it's whoever, right?
Yep. There's
a baseball team, and there's a cheerleading group, and there's this thing, and there's that thing, and it's us. It's a mix of our community. And it is an amazing week, and that is an amazing day to see that many people come out to watch our little community parade by them. And it is our little community parading by them. And if you think it's too long, go home. Don't come down the entire time. Like, it's totally your choice how long you get to stay.
Shane, I love how real you are.
Seriously.
Go home if you don't like it.
It is an amazing event. We have been doing it the entire time we lived here. 50 years we've been coming to this thing. There was a day when we didn't have to save a spot on the park, right? People just knew that was our spot. That day is gone. Yeah. But we still get to, get out early on the day before and sit at the park and, again, be with the family. And that's really what this is about, being with your family and being with the community. So take advantage of it. Sit on the hot asphalt and watch your community parade by you and enjoy the heck out of it. Or stay home and watch it on TV. Your choice. But I hope you all come out because it's an amazing time. So thank you very much. Thank you, council, for being involved every single day. It is a lot of work. It's a long week. But to me, it's a bit of the payoff for doing the other 51 weeks of the year doing this stuff. So thank you all for being right there with me and supporting each other throughout this week. So thank you very much. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilman Marshall. Appreciate it. Thank you, Councilman Argyle, for bringing up the notion of you miss it. We're all going to miss it someday too, and we missed you there. But politics is for a time and a season, and so appreciate that perspective of reminding us that you only get to do this stuff for a little time. And I'll just echo what's been said about Fiesta Days, about the rodeo, about the park, about the carnival, about the fair in the park, and everything else that happens is to just bring a community that's already close-knit closer together. And so it's great to see family and friends and everybody hanging out and having a good time, and our first responders keeping us safe as well. I'll tell you that it goes back to, we run a professional rodeo, we run a whole professional Fiesta Days, I feel like, but I'll tell you two names that stand out to me during Fiesta Days this year. Number one was Steve Knowles. Steve Knowles is the number 2, maybe you'll correct me, number 2 at the PRCA. So when I had a minute to meet with him the night that he was at the rodeo, I figured I wouldn't waste my shot, and I just turned around to him and said, "Hey, welcome to a real rodeo," right, to Steve. And he chuckled a little bit. I mean, this guy's been to every rodeo, including the NFR and the big rodeos and the little rodeos. And I don't know, he was a little surprised and probably wondered if I knew what I was talking about. But he quickly agreed that this is a real rodeo, a rodeo that takes care of the livestock, takes care of the athletes, and takes care of the patrons. And he recognized that as a man that's seen more rodeos than I'm ever going to see. But he did acknowledge that we do it right, and it says a lot about what happens down there with Nick and with Angie and Dale and the Diamond Fork Riding Club and everything that goes in to serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner while those people are here in our city. Huge deal. And just think about if that was your life, if you brought your family and sometimes your little kids along with you to then get on a 1,000-pound animal and see if you can make it and make a buck so you can go to the next one. I mean, that's a different life. But I'm telling you, just the few things that we do make a huge difference in their stay here. And it's perennial why it's one of the biggest in the state, but one of the biggest rodeos in the PRCA, and making enough noise where other places are thinking about having different weeks for their festivities and rodeos because we're getting such a draw. The other name that I'll mention to you, Casey Field. Casey Field, if you don't know that name, you haven't been paying attention in rodeo for quite some time. Local cowboy that is going to go down as one of the best in the world history of a rodeo athlete. And he was inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame the week before, and then inducted into the Spanish Fork Fiesta Days Hall of Fame the week he was here. And it was pretty cool to see a guy get up, have some emotion in his voice as he accepted that honor. And you could tell it meant something to him. It was an honor to him. It was an honor to his dad, to Louis Field, to be part of this rodeo and build this rodeo. And it was an honor for Casey to be a part of it. And I was pretty touched to see one of the biggest names ever in rodeo be emotional at being inducted into our Hall of Fame. So pretty cool stuff all over. But there's just a couple of highlights I had from the rodeo that week that I'll never forget. I sent Jack a quick picture today. Dale is going to get us an update in not that one. That was the sidewalk sales, and that might go down.
That was last council meeting.
Oh, Nick sent you that one? Okay. Yeah. That one should probably be blown up and put on front of City Hall or something, or somewhere. I don't know. This is today's little sideways here. You do construction, when you have rebar sticking out of the ground, you just make do with rocks and what you can do. This is Kyle Houghton of Westland in the middle there. It's his camera, and he set it up. I'm surprised it's still with us because it was falling off that rebar there. But you can see Jared Johnson there, Matt Romero, myself, and Mr. Adams, and Mr. Can't remember his name, Jared, the other guy by Kelly. Now that I've put you on the spot, you're going to be mad that he's in your meetings every time.
Oh, Nolan Kerr.
Nolan. Thank you. Nolan's there too. Okay, so I got them all. We're going to take a tour as a council of this coming up and have some more pictures in the upcoming council meetings, just to keep the public. There's some high fences around the rec center makes it hard to see what's inside of it. But I'm telling you, just the walking today and the walking that Dale's going to take us on in a couple of weeks for the council, and we'll report back to you. Boy, it's coming along, and it is such a cool facility. It is such a neat thing to see. This was a picture. This is down the hallway, so the entrance is kind of where this phone is, but this is a long hallway that takes you towards the pool section, the basketball gymnasium's on the right-hand side, some childcare on the left-hand side, and I'm telling you, this thing is coming together, and I couldn't be more excited about where we're at, the progress of it, and the way that the job is going. So kudos to Dale, Matt, Jared, the whole crew that's I know in these meetings day in, day out, Bronco and the like, and now Nick as well, to keep this thing moving because it is such a neat facility in a neat place that would, again, the spirit of what we've already talked about Fiesta Days, bring our community together. And we'll get to see each other a lot more often in February when you can't be outside and see each other very easy. Fiesta Days every day. There you go. My gosh. But thankful to Westland, thankful to those crews. Man, they were slinging bricks today. Those are not just little bricks. Those are big cinder blocks. And those guys are chucking them up scaffolding, catching them, mudding them, putting them down. Dartco Masonry is hard at it, and every day it's changing.
You were there today?
I was there today. They didn't let me throw any bricks.
That is with the world economy falling apart at the seams.
That was yesterday.
And the stock market going crazy.
That was yesterday.
You have chosen to dedicate your time.
That was yesterday.
That tells you how much you care about this community.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right.
I know. I'm saying it's a good thing. You took it as bad.
Dale, anything you want to add to that today? That's just one picture of many. I know you can start getting.
No, I think it's good. I'll have an update and some videos for you next time.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, they're moving along. It's changing quickly.
Every single day, it seems like something's changing down there, and you can just get more of a vision of what it's going to be. So, very cool stuff. That's all I have. Any other council comments before we go to staff reports? Okay, Mr. Manager Seth Perrins has some staff reports for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things to touch on. I'll ask Chris to talk about Center Street, and if you paid attention, hopefully you did. There are some changes going on with Center Street right now in terms of paving, so we'll have Chris talk about that. And then Dale, anything else you want to touch on about Fiesta Days if you do, and then I'll wrap up with one thing from Irma. So go ahead.
Perfect.
We're really excited about what's going on Center Street. We'll have a new road there, and we have a new road on 630 West. So surrounding the high school, you have all new roads with the new school, and that's going to be just a nice commute to the kids coming to their new school. With that, on Monday there will be a big change on Center Street. The stop sign at 200 West will come down simultaneously with a stop signal or a traffic signal on 400 West. So that's a change we're looking forward to, and that should be on Monday.
So don't stop. Just keep going.
So I think the big issue there is for who knows how long, kids have approached the high school from the east of town. They maybe turn on First, south, wrap down to Second West and hit that blinking stoplight, get onto Center Street that way. First day of school, our encouragement to those parents and kids is if they want to take that route, go down first, go to 400 West, and then hit that new light, and that'll shoot you straight into a brand new parking lot, a new intersection there. That'll drive right into the new parking lot of the new high school as it's now configured for this new year.
We have a meeting tomorrow to just kind of talk about how we're going to get that word out and what we're going to do there at the intersection first few days of school to make sure that everyone's aware of the change and that we don't have any problems that way. But it should be a lot nicer getting to school and on nice new roads.
Perfect.
Are you going to have signs up that say new traffic pattern or anything?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Message boards and
Awesome.
and we're planning to have an officer there at the intersection. So.
This will be our only cars light left in town. So, I mean, every third blink is faster than the other. I don't know if you've noticed that. That's from Cars, the movie. It's a cartoon about traffic. You should know this one.
Right in Disneyland.
If you don't know,
that's what it is.
If you don't know Cars, then we got a problem. That should be like your theme. I feel like you're bottling up something and you're going to just unleash it later.
Nope. Enjoying my time.
Nail it.
Yeah, let me just say a couple things. You guys did a really good job of covering Fiesta Days. My family, like many of yours, likes this better than Christmas. And I was kind of surprised when they told me that years ago, but they look forward to this more than they do Christmas, and that says something about what takes place here, and most of it's family gatherings and events that draw us together, as has been said. But I want to give a big thank you to all of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. And I know you guys mentioned this, and Stacy, thank you. She's the ringleader. We have our executive committee. We have our event chairs. And it just takes so many people to pull off 3 weeks. Now, I know a lot of you guys think this is just a day or a couple days or 5 days, but it's really 3 weeks that we run events here associated with Fiesta Days. And it's a lot of work. Our staff loves it. They're exhausted, so you'll find our offices vacant, usually the 26th and 27th, so they can catch their breath. But we literally can't do this without a community full of wonderful volunteers who just are invested in this thing. And it's so fun to just see them year after year, and they work really hard. And they're the reason that we pull this off, these big events, from the Pyro Musical to open this thing up with, I'm not going to tell you how many so that the county health department doesn't know, but it's a lot of people here. And all the other events that just are a lot of fun and has been mentioned. It brings our community together, and that's what keeps the small town feel. And we love it, but man, our staff cannot pull this off without volunteers. And so just want to make sure that they know that we love and appreciate and recognize all of their efforts, because it's not possible without them. That's it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Just a follow-up for an IRMA board meeting that I was at last week. IRMA is our risk management pool that we belong to, we own, and are members of, similar to like the Solid Waste District and UMPA. This last year, IRMA hired an in-house attorney to cover litigation, small litigation, and as an agency, every time we have somebody sues us, for example, city attorneys generally are not specialized in litigation. They're focused on city attorney type work, and so they know state codes and things associated with municipal government operations. So we hire a lot of that litigation out, and IRMA's studies showed that they could probably bring in an in-house attorney, and he could cover certain types of claims and save association-wide more than what his salary is. And we've had that attorney now in-house for about a year. My notes are sitting on my desk, but
depending on what metric we use and whatnot, in just 1 year, we've saved Irma cities at least. I think it was $250,000, and in one calculation, it was $400,000. It was a great move. We're using the services of this in-house attorney for one small litigation matter that we're working on, and he's been great to work with. And then the second thing I wanted to share is that we spent a lot of time talking about our deductible, and we don't have a big. When we have a claim, the way that our pool works is we pay for that claim, but we pay for it over time if it's over a certain size. So whether we pay $5,000 year one or 10 or 0, the next year and for the 5 years subsequent to that, we'll pay back a fifth of that and recover the costs of that. So we essentially get a 5-year loan or up to almost a 6-year loan from Irma. The benefit of that is we know the real cost of our claims, and we care about how claims happen or not. But there is no cost that goes to an insurance company where they pay for it and then they try to recover it plus some over the next few years, and our rates are always going up. We just simply pay for the actual cost of claims. So we've been talking. We get to now choose what our deductible is, and I don't think it'll be a big deal, but we'll talk as staff and how we feel like we think we can best administer a deductible of 0, 5, or maybe $10,000. Really, we're just paying the first installment of 5 years on that repayment, right? So the dollar amount doesn't matter. We'll look for a strategic amount that maybe helps us accomplish better risk management goals. That's really what I think we'll target with how we set our deductible. That's all I have, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate that update. And thank you, Chris and Dale as well. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item 7 of our agenda, the consent items, item A through H. If nobody has any questions on the consent items.
I do have a question, Mayor.
Okay.
Letter H did not have anything attached to it.
Letter
Settlement
H.
agreement with Rymac
Right.
LLC.
If you look at your agenda, the motion is to exclude item H and table item H. It didn't make it.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're right.
So consent items, I would entertain a motion approving the consent items, holding off on item H.
I move to approve the consent items excluding item H.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Marshall. All in favor say yes.
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 Consent items are approved. Takes us to new business.
Table H as well.
Oh, excuse me. Did you leave that off?
I didn't. Yeah,
now
I
we need a
did.
motion to table H.
I think you said it.
I said excluding it.
Just
I
do
didn't
a
table it, though.
Yeah, so you approved the consent agenda without item H. So item
Now
H
you
is
want us
now
to-
on the
the
regular
motion to do
agenda,
it.
so to speak. So
Gotcha.
you should table that.
I'd entertain a motion for item H.
I move to table item H.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin, seconded by Councilman Marshall to table item H. I feel like Tara's going to want a roll call vote here. Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
And Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Item H is tabled. Takes us to 8A of new business, Historical Preservation Commission appointment.
He's not here.
Where's Councilman Euler? I can read this off. Dale, do you have any more insight than me on this? Or would you like Tara? Sure, please.
So in the Historical Commission's code, it says that we need to have a representative from community development. And with Mary Martin leaving, we had an opening. And so it was decided or proposed that we have Ian Bunker from community development join the commission.
Awesome. And he's in Dave's office.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, Ian Bunker, you can read the attachment. He's got a good pedigree that he'll be a great addition to this area. I'd entertain a motion to approve item A, or to accept Ian Bunker.
I move to accept Ian Bunker to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Councilman Marshall made the motion. Councilwoman Beck seconded. Roll call vote. Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Thank you, Ian. Appreciate your help there. Item B, Resolution Second Amendment to Fire and 911 Ambulance Services Interlocal Cooperation Agreement. Mr. Chief Eddie Hales.
Mayor and Council, This agreement is a second amendment to the agreement we signed back in November with the county, allowing us to bill for our services within the unincorporated areas of Utah County for fire and EMS. When we went to bill them, what they had in the actual initial agreement was that we could only bill to the Division of Natural Resources billing form, which Division of Natural Resources is mostly structured just for wildland firefighting, which we are not that. We do a majority of structural firefighting, and so a lot of our apparatus that we would send a bill for to the county was not being reimbursed to us because it didn't fall into the DNR manual for billing. So this second amendment now allows us to put the other apparatus that we have that we should be billing for and that the county should be paying us back for in those service agreements into this amendment, so now we can bill for those apparatus going back to the 1st of July. So they're going to retro us back to the 1st of July after this amendment's signed, which will be helpful for us in the revenue generation for fire and EMS services. Any questions?
No. Thank you, Chief.
Good job, Chief.
Questions for Chief? Okay. If not, I entertain a motion for item B.
I move to approve the second amendment to Fire and 911 Ambulance Service Interlocal Cooperation Agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin, seconded by Councilman Marshall. A roll call vote here. Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Item B is approved. Takes us to C, voluntary transfer of Provo electric service contract entitlement from Spanish Fork City to UMPA. Mr. Jake Tyre and Mr. Travis Ball
Yes.
are here with us.
Thank you. I just want to say real quick, kind of echo what Del said. I'm a resident and an employee at Spanish Fork. Fiesta Days is awesome. Very important to my family, a good time to get together. You guys do an awesome job, and I know it takes a lot of work, so thank you for me and my family because we really enjoy it. We go to a lot of things, take advantage of it, so thank you. Let's keep it going for sure. Yeah, we're here for the next item on your agenda. This is a request coming from the Western Area Power Authority and for transfer of generation from Spanish Fork to UMPA. So I've invited Travis Ball with UMPA to kind of give you a little history on it and some background and answer any questions you might have. So I'll turn the time over to him.
Former Provo guy, what would you like to say about Spanish Fork Fiesta?
I was just going to say I'm very disappointed that I didn't attend the last few weeks. That's what I'm going to say. But I have been to the rodeo. I just didn't go this year. Next year I'm going for sure. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I appreciate this opportunity. This is a contract. I'm here to discuss the 2025 Provo River project. And you might think this is a new contract, but this is a federal contract. And anytime you get into federal contracts, they make things difficult. This was actually started 90 years ago with FDR, who approved the dam up at Deer River. So they built that dam and completed it in 1938. 20 years later, the generator was finished, 1954, something like that. Anyway, the power from that dam is what we're talking about. This is what the project's about. So it's been generating power for a lot of years, but the plan, the contract just finished. There's a 30-year contract. UMPA has been administering that contract. The federal government went out for another marketing to market that power. WAPA did to the preferred customers. Spanish Fork is one of those preferred customers. What they've changed here is they want each city, each preferred customer that's part of UMPA to assign their allotment to UMPA. It's a formal process. So 7.7% of that generator is Spanish Fork's allotment, and they're asking the Spanish Fork to assign that to UMPA. Nothing has changed. We've been operating this way for 30 years now. So it's just a formal process saying that Spanish Fork will assign that 7.7% to UMPA, and that's what it's asking for. Do you have any questions for that? We're asking that you assign the contract for the mayor to allot that power to UMPA, and the contract will be signed as part of the board meeting at UMPA.
Good explanation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'll tell you before you make the motion, Travis is Provo Power guy that's now the UMPA director. Was a director? Is that the what do we?
I was the director of Provo Power for 20 years or so. Now I'm the vice president of generation at UMPA. So changing roles.
Yeah, so Kevin Garlick retiring. Travis
Kevin
Ball.
retired?
He did.
Oh.
So
Big
I know
changes.
there's big shoes to. Hopefully, we'll do it right at our next meeting down in St. George.
You guys are awesome.
Got big shoes to cover there.
So the contract only accounts for 70% of the power. Where does the other 30 go?
It's 7% of the power from the Deer Creek Dam is Spanish Fork. They are assigning that to UMPA.
Got that part. There's 3 entities that make up 70% of the power.
60% Provo. Provo's going to do the same thing, assign that to UMPA, and then Salem. There's actually 8 cities that are preference customers. 5 of those are members of UAMPS, 3 of them members are of UMPA.
Right.
So UMPA does have the majority.
This is the UMP contract. UMPA.
Yeah, it's UMPA, and the other 5 will go through UAMPS process.
That makes sense. Okay.
Travis filling big shoes, but doing it very well. We're excited for his time at UMPA, and UMPA is on very good footing going into the future for everything. So thank you, Travis, for that explanation. If there's no other questions from the council, I'd entertain a motion on item C.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the voluntary transfer of Provo electric service contract entitlement from Spanish Fork City to UMPA.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck, seconded by Councilman Marshall. A roll call vote here. Councilman Cardon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilman Took?
Yes.
Item C is approved. We put power by power. So, Jake, item D.
Yes, this one's pretty straightforward. This is our large solar generation policy that we're trying to update to kind of match how we're operating right now. We actually have 0 customers that fall in this category as of today. We have one going through the process right now. We're just cleaning this up. We're getting rid of some stuff that takes care of itself through the process. We added that the Utah County records need to match the billing and stuff like that just to kind of clean it up. But pretty straightforward, just adding a few issues so it's very clear on the policy for our large generation. So, any questions for me?
I just had one quick question, or I guess comment on item F. It just says cover all associated costs from the interconnection, engineering, all that. Were we doing that before with other solar customers, and that's just moving that to this large policy, or is that an addition?
No, we always made them cover all the costs and make sure that they were doing that. We wanted to spell it out because a lot of people want to build the project and do a lot of things before some of that stuff is covered. So this is just being very clear of the process.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake.
Mayor, I think it's worth noting while Jake and Travis are here, we love having solar customers, but there is a limit to how much we can rely on, and certainly I think some expectations we have, and I think the customer that you're talking about is in the VERC area. We're going to get a lot of larger buildings and that larger industrial buildings, and a lot of times they'll come in and say, hey, I've got this square footage up here, I'd like to put some panels on. Large set of panels, and that, while we think that's great, solar's wonderful, it isn't as great as it always seems because we can't program that, and we have to be able to replace solar as soon as a cloud comes over. So this is really an important change for us as we contemplate having additional rooftops, large rooftops, and customers. So what's the difference between what you would call a regular customer and a large customer?
It's based on size. Anything over 25 kW is considered a large customer, and through our transmission contracts and contracts with UMPA, there are resource provided for all our energy, right? So if we get somebody coming in wanting to provide energy, we've got to follow these steps to make sure they can. We want them to do it. We want to make sure it's right. So Spanish Fork is not violating our contract with UMPA and so forth, and we want to make it fair for the owner of the solar generation. Also make sure we're following the right, correct policy for Spanish Fork too. So, and like Seth said, with the VERC area, we're getting a lot of bigger businesses. They're coming in and they're saying, hey, we want to do these huge generations, and so we want to make sure they have a policy they can read and know right up front what's kind of required of them and through the process. So just cleaning it up.
We try to be really clear from the very beginning of any conversation. So we'll talk with them. Dave will talk to them. Jake will talk to them. I tell them, start at UMPA. That's where we get our power. And UMPA has been a great partner for us to work with that way.
I know it's a very different thing, but now we're getting to the end of the summer where maybe so many solar sales aren't knocking on people's doors residentially, but maybe give us, this explanation's been given before, but it's a good refresher that Spanish Fork has a good relationship with solar providers, solar companies, and things like that, but the details of putting solar on your rooftop, whether that's residential or commercial, doesn't mean you're off the grid. There's a grid that is maintained, power that has to be not only put on the lines, but then restored when you need it, when a cloud comes over or it's dark, right? So maybe just confirm to the residents that,
And honestly, it's kind of, you can tell when the solar salesmen are in town, right? We're not against solar. We absolutely like it. But we have, contracts with UMPA that we've got to follow. And I really encourage people to do their homework. There's a lot of untruths out there that, Spanish Fork is working along with the solar people. That's not correct, right? We have our policies that we follow for solar. And if the people can follow those, absolutely. Put solar on your roof and do generation. But do your homework so you know if you're connected. So when the power goes off and you still have no power, you know the reasons behind that, So definitely we encourage it, but make sure you do your homework.
And my encouragement, you encourage it, but my encouragement is if you're going to make that kind of investment residentially on your home, call Jake's department, call the city.
Absolutely.
You are going to get the real facts about it before you make an investment that maybe you thought was something different, or maybe you did the math. But we're just going to do the math for you, tell you what it means to you in Spanish Fork.
And I'll take a page out of Councilman Marshall's book.
Don't do that.
Be careful.
Oh no, this is
Very short book. I only have a few pages left.
It's where it's
like a page.
exactly what needs to happen. We are not partners with any solar company. So when they say we're partnering with the city, they're leading you to believe that they are a preferred vendor of some kind or another. They are not. Like Jake says, we don't have a connection to any of them. We can work with solar, but if they say they're a preferred anything, that's not correct. And we are not shutting down our power generation in a year or two or three, and we won't be unable to provide power in a short few years because of state or federal regulations. That is not true. So if it sounds like you have to buy it, well, you do. You're talking to a salesperson, right? And those are just simply not true. So you okay with that out of your
It did come from his book. That's on page 76, I think.
Slow down. Something like that, at least.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. Travis, thank you, too. Any more questions for Jake? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item D.
I move to approve ordinance revising 13.08.040 large solar generation policy.
Motion made by Councilman Took, seconded by Councilman Cardinal. Roll call vote here. Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilman Took.
Yes.
And Councilman Cardinal.
Yes.
Item D is approved. Takes us to E of new business. Ordinance revising 3.44 disposal of lease of public property.
Disposal or lease of public property.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Jared.
You're fine. So we've made some changes to this policy. We've given the fleet division manager, he may surplus vehicles or equipment that are approved within the budget. That's one of the changes to it. Anything else to this, the city, we've changed it from the city council to the manager up to $100,000. And then anything over that is still subject to the Utah code, must be advertised on the Utah Public Notice website, the city's website, and post for 14 days. So those are the only changes.
Questions for Mr. Johnson about these changes?
No.
Okay.
No.
Awesome.
If not, yep, this is page 76 out of Shane's book. He wants these numbers to go up.
Delegation of authority.
I'd entertain a motion for item E.
I move to approve revised Title 3.44, disposal of lease of.
Disposal
No,
or.
that's why you. Yeah,
Not my fault.
No, it's not your fault. Or disposal of lease or public property.
Disposal or lease of public
That's
property.
what I said. You heard it wrong.
Thank you, Jared.
Disposal or lease of public property. That makes way more sense. Where the
That sounds
order is.
good. Yep.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Marshall, seconded by Councilwoman Beck. A roll call vote here. Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Item E is approved.
Bad and Dart feels right now.
Yeah, that you failed her class.
Yeah.
Yep. She's watching.
She's
too.
watching. She's like, Shane, I taught you better.
But she's also not shocked by that.
She's not. No.
Takes us to item 9A of our discussion items. Three items on our discussion section of the agenda tonight. Mr. David Anderson to talk to us about item A.
I think all three are his, yeah.
The city's received some complaints going back a number of months about different things that are displayed at different locations in some of the bigger stores in Spanish Fork. And I think in particular it's the idea that these items are displayed where they are that's been upsetting for some of our residents. So we spent a little bit of time as staff. Appreciate our legal department's help in drafting some changes that would be made to our business license regulations that would pertain to stores in a particular instance. And just to cut right to the chase, if we look at the language there in D, so incidentally, we're obviously not proposing this tonight, but it's maybe a warm-up for a proposal that you will see soon on an agenda. We're talking about larger stores that have 10,000 square feet or larger. That would be, for example, stores like Walmart, both the big and small one, and Target. So I believe in Spanish Fork today, primarily, those would be the ones that this would be targeted at, which incidentally we've talked to the management in each of those three stores here in Spanish Fork to let them know that something like this was being contemplated and that we would give them additional information as it came about, including a heads up so that they would have a certain amount of time maybe to make some adjustments so that the items that we're talking about here can be displayed in something of a more subtle location than where you can currently see them in stores. Not a huge change. I personally think, and maybe it's more hope, that by having these stores simply raise the items a little bit higher, they become a little bit less obvious and maybe in the face of younger people and that type of a thing, therefore making them perhaps less offensive for people that maybe feel like they don't belong in that particular setting. Vaughn, Seth, anybody want to add anything to this? I mean, it is somewhat self-explanatory. Maybe one other thing that I'll mention. We do have a couple of stores that that are not what we would call sexually oriented businesses, but they do sell, for example, lingerie, different things like that. And the 10,000 square foot rule, as we're contemplating proposing to you, is really intended to differentiate those stores from big box retail stores that happen to have this as a very small part of their overall merchandising. So that's just maybe a little bit more insight into why we're trying to differentiate between big and smaller boutique kind of shops.
And those boutique types of stores really have more of a focused purpose, and so they don't generally have clientele that are there for ice cream and frozen pizzas, as well as seeing certain things in places. It's some of the concerns that we've had. So we felt like this was a good compromise to address this in a location where there might be younger eyes.
Makes sense.
Working with the businesses, like you mentioned, key here, so they're not just blindsided by some change, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're able to adjust shelves
Exactly,
and plate
yeah.
things, and right.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's your timetable, Dave?
Whatever, honestly, you want it to be. So we could have this on your next agenda. We'll have a number of other community development things that night, so I might suggest that we wait until your first meeting in September. And then I believe typically our ordinances take effect 30 days after you adopt them. So we'd at least give the businesses that much of a very formal, at that point in time, heads up that, hey, you have this much time to rearrange your merchandise.
Discussion item, but anything else you want Dave to kind of explore there, or pretty well sum it up? Okay.
With no Councilman Gordon, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, there could be. It could have been a lot worse meeting if Councilman Gordon was here.
Oh, boy.
Cracking a joke.
Where did 72 inches come from?
It's somewhat subjective, truthfully. Looking at where at least two of the stores have shelves, and thinking, hey, if you just go up to this height level, then that's relatively easy. One of the other stores that this would apply to actually has a lockable case that the things are in, so it will take more effort for them. But truthfully, that I don't know any other. Try to come up with something that seemed to make some sense and that
You
would
could
have
add
some
language that if it's in some kind of a lockable case that they don't need to be higher. I don't know what the visual obstruction is there, but
zero.
Glass.
I mean, it still is. Yeah, all glass.
There's some pretty
It's interesting
descriptive packaging.
to me. The residents came to the city rather than the stores voicing their concern. Is it because they were afraid the store wouldn't do anything about it?
You know, honestly, I don't know if they did express any concern to anybody but us. I just know that, and I think the complaints that we got actually came by way of administration.
Yeah, they were just emails.
But people expect the city to solve problems, right? So they reach out.
And not have any government overreach on top of that.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to debate the issue. It just seems strange.
No, this is one of those.
I mean, I'm thinking of walking and having to jump to reach the top of the shelf now.
Ask for help, maybe.
Yeah, that's super comfortable. Whatever.
You're almost 6 foot.
Next.
You're almost 6 foot.
But you're not getting it with your nose.
It's just whatever.
Yeah,
Don't
this
go there.
this is we could get down the discussion of local government here. I think you can respond to people in your community that it's a different feel than other communities and other things that are in other places. And so I think exploring this for the requests is probably close to what our community kind of feels and wants and desires. And so I'd give you the direction to get something ready for a council meeting to look at. Okay, item B, business license fee changes, disproportionate share approach.
Yes, thank you. It has been a while since we've changed our business license fees, at least for the business license itself. A couple of years ago, there were some changes made that pertain to some of the inspections that happen. And in short tonight, again, kind of priming the pump for something that we've been working on for a few months. As I mentioned there, we expect to present a proposal in September. September becomes kind of important and actually gives us a month leeway if you want us to take any additional time to study or change anything before we start to work on our annual business license renewals, kind of end of October or maybe early November. As you can see there on that slide, it's been since 2017 that we last changed our business license fee, and we've talked with the administration about looking at updating it now. And we've really, I don't want to make this sound complicated. I personally don't think that it is at all. Looking at a couple of different options. One, it's really straightforward. We just make an adjustment to account for inflation. Our business license fee program historically has been self-funded to the degree that we have an employee whose primary purpose for existing is to manage business licenses to make sure that a number of different things are set up correctly with new business license applications that, frankly, we receive daily so that things happen with other governmental agencies the right way, and so that there's order and the proper regulations get followed. And historically, the revenue that we've collected from business licenses has been connected to how much does that person cost the city. And it's been that simple. And our costs as the city have gone up in every way, including personnel. And option one would be to simply bring a proposal to you. We don't have necessarily a dollar figure in mind, but it might be on the order of 20 or 25% to adjust for inflation over what's getting close to being about the last 10 years. And suggesting that we just simply up our business license fee to that, which incidentally still would have us being considerably lower than most other cities in the county for business license fees. Now, there's another option that's more complicated that we've talked a little bit about over years. And I've kind of always thought that we would get to a certain point to where this would make some sense for Spanish Fork. And we happen to have some staff that has a unique skill set. Scott Aylett, he conducted his previous employment that he had, conducted fee analyses to look at helping communities adopt business license fee programs that accounted for the disproportionate level of service that certain businesses require, so they would pay a higher business license fee than some other businesses. And in my mind, the best example is a big box retailer that oftentimes will have a police officer visiting several times a day. That business costs the city considerably more to serve than a business that has a police officer visit once a year. So, in a nutshell, that's what the analysis is. It's to analyze by business type how much it costs the city to serve those particular businesses. And really, it's how much more does it cost the city to provide service to those businesses than it does the typical business. And then business license fees are set up accordingly. And a number of communities in the county, certainly a number of communities across the state, use a disproportionate fee kind of a program, and we're in the final stages of having a proposal put together for you to review based on that approach. Do you have any questions about that? So kind of expect to bring an option one and an option two.
I think it's an interesting option to look at too, but it seems like property taxes is what pays for the, let's say, police officers to go rather than your department. Your department's just over the license, and that's one and done once a year, right?
Yes.
And then you're not dealing with them again.
Typically not, yeah. For hundreds and hundreds of businesses in the city, we don't have an annual interaction as much as, well, the only interaction that we have is them renewing once a year.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to come prepared to talk about what they're used for, the fees. Why is there a fee in general? What does the city use it for? To Stacy's point, I don't believe that you're the only group that uses the money that's collected by it. I think it does get distributed across services. If that's the only place doing it, it would serve us not to do it at all. Like, what's the point? But I do like option two. I think that makes some sense. And you're probably talking about a range of $20 to $80. It's not like it's $1 to $3,000, right? The range is not crazy. There's only so much revenue generation.
No, it could, absolutely could be.
It would be.
You could structure it that way if you wanted to.
So if, for example, and right now, literally, we have a cost associated with helping make sure that businesses that are licensed in Spanish Fork have their licenses set up the right way, both the Spanish Fork and others. So it's the fee that we collect today, and again, it's a little bit outdated, but it is intended just to help the city break even on what it costs us to get people registered and to maintain that over time. If we do end up switching from that model to the disproportionate fee kind of a model, then it would be, okay, how much does it cost the city to send police officers to that particular business? You know, truthfully, it might be 700 times a year. And you are into the thousands of dollars very quickly. So, and with that as well, And I don't know if it becomes a legal thing or if it is just a moral thing, but I think the concept is that additional revenue that you're collecting is going to the department within the city that's providing that service. So it's a kind of pay to play fee.
Yeah, having some detail on that, like how many times a police officer is showing up to Mike's shop on Main Street, would be nice to know, just so that we can have some idea of like what does that actual cost look like? Because I would hate for us to go in super subjective and just say we think that it's happening this many times, or we assume that it's this cost. But being really objective, and if it's our big box stores that we're talking about that have a lot of theft, right? Like let's associate that with what that cost would be for the time that Chief Johnson's department is there.
Yeah.
I think that'll be helpful in making that decision. But I agree, option 2 does make a lot of sense. I do think that it would be the one thing that I would worry about, just right off the cuff of seeing this for the first time, is that we make a steep change very quickly, and it may have some negative impacts on businesses. So maybe there's a step approach that could be in there as well.
I think there's a philosophical conversation around that. I did not read option 2 as another revenue generator. And what you just told us is it definitely could be.
Yeah.
I read it as it's disproportionate from everyone getting charged 60 and collecting this much money to some people can charge 15 or 5 and 90 to collect the same amount of money.
Got it.
But
yeah.
those are two different. You described something
different.
completely different.
True.
You described something collecting an additional piece of revenue from those that use a service more. I think we need to be very careful about explaining where that money currently comes from, what offset are we going to give, because property taxes, sales tax, all of those things are being generated for sure, some of that to go to pay for that. So it's way more broad if we want to get into that than it is trying to figure out how to spend $60 a person.
And that's, I think, precisely you're catching the vision of why we're talking about it here, because it is time for us to adjust, at least for inflation. It's been a decade. The whole premise of let's just have this regulatory service pay for itself, it needs to be adjusted. But in that conversation, the questions are asked, is it time that we say, this big box store should pay $10,000 or $15,000 for their business license? I don't know what that dollar amount is, right? But the concept certainly could be that this would go to offset some of those expenses. So I think it's important to frame it in the perspective of you're considering a revenue increase, a revenue generator to offset some of those typically public safety services, right? I think
almost exclusively,
and probably some prosecution services too. So we're not trying to say this is the right way or that's the right way, but every time we talk about business licenses, these are the two options, and I think what we're looking for is, what questions would you have? How can we address this in a way for you to say, ooh, I don't like this, I do like that, or even right now say, I don't like that. Let's take a year and study it if we're going to do that. Let's just do option 1 and look at option 2 over the course of a year or two. Let's create a blue ribbon committee with Kathleen back there and look at option 2. We're totally game with anything.
For me, option 2 is not a one council meeting conversation at all. It is a philosophical change in the way we tax our businesses. We call it a fee, but whatever. Right now, that's no way for me, but over the course of time, I could potentially get there if there was broader context around it. But like I said, I thought you were talking about when I had a business, I paid $40 and Macy's paid $40, and now I'm going to pay $5 and they paid $105.
Something more.
That's two very distinct differences, and I am not even close to being prepared to getting down that rabbit hole of option 2.
I think it all just depends on what that variability looks like. Because that variability is like what you said at the first. If it's, hey, we're going to raise everybody from, I guess we're at $60, and you're saying, maybe it's $20, now everyone's $80, but we're going to charge some that have more services $150. I don't think that's a huge conversation. But if we're talking $3,000, I think that's a lot longer conversation.
I'm with you 100%. Yes.
Yeah. So this
would equalize the current fee to collect the exact same amount of revenue, or an increase in revenue based on inflation, fine. But if we want to go beyond that and have it another revenue generator for the city, that is a much bigger conversation than one time.
So this is exactly what we're wanting.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I think for what I'm hearing, Dave, I'm sure you're hearing the same thing as you look at me with your smile. We'll just present option 1 this year. But is there interest in studying option 2? We're not saying that we should. We just know that these are the 2 different methods, and there are lots of cities out there, and a big box store will come in and say, your business license fee is only $80. I pay in some other city. And we aren't necessarily saying that we should do this or that, but we know that there is that possibility, so we want to have that conversation.
My opinion would be absolutely, I think we should have that conversation, because I think that sometimes we get the question of, why am I covering this cost for X person, right? And I think this is an opportunity where we can start having some of those more finite questions answered.
Sure. Okay. So Travis Warren is a great employee of Spanish Fork City, and I used to work with his dad, Boyd Warren, at the bank. Boyd's a little bit older than probably most people in this room since Chad Argyle's left. And he was adamant at the bank that he was not going to learn the alarm system. And so the cost to have the cops come out just about every week that Boyd opened the bank was like, okay, all right. Was a real cost to their department, and your cops don't think maybe it's Boyd tripping the alarm again. They just go, and so there's a fee there that's probably charged differently with that alarm system of how we have to respond to that as a community versus something else. And if you're on the bank side, you would say, yeah, I pay property tax to cover that, or I don't really pay sales tax, but I lend money to businesses that build the community and pay a lot of sales tax. So isn't that included in there or something?
Yeah.
So I'd be game with working with the chamber and exploring some of that, and we could probably even call it the Boyd Warren rule if we wanted to. But no, there's definitely some reasons of I think the nuance in there and the detail and the context that you would probably see some businesses be like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Or that doesn't make sense. Here's where I think I make it up, right? So
I'm not saying don't. I'm saying it's a year-long conversation. It's a lot broader conversation than.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it next time and pass something. It's bigger than that.
Great. Like Seth said, that's perfect. I appreciate that. I will say that we are far enough along on an analysis of what maybe that disproportionate fee might look like, that we want to talk about it sooner than later. So, and maybe the next month or two, because we're excited and we have fresh data, might work session or.
Yeah, and I think before we bring it here, let's grab a group from the chamber. If there's some businesses that Kathleen's been listening to this conversation, Landon too. If they're, I think having a representation of different types, different sizes, might be really helpful and get some input. I think that'd be a great. Take a run at the concept there, get some feedback, and talk about it here. Comfortable, though, in terms of this year, as we're doing the update, just do the math, and we're solving for X, so that's what the fee is. Perfect.
It's been a long time. Yep, been a long time, so it's probably time.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. On to item C, the general plan update.
Yes. We've talked about a survey. It's live. It's been live for a week or so. It'll be live for another couple of weeks or so. If anybody's watching that hasn't participated, please do. You can find it on the city's website. Do any of you guys have any questions about that?
Are we pushing it on social media? Because I haven't seen anything.
I think we're pushing it.
Yeah, and we pushed it through Everbridge the other day to
that way.
Yeah, a ton of our residents. So hopefully they've seen it.
Okay.
Dave, thank you for adjusting some of the survey for some of the feedback that was received. It was much easier to do, and there was definitely some I thought was better facilitated. So thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was just a better product. It was a much better product, and I'm not just kissing up at all. But look, truthfully,
feels like it.
It's better. You guys saw the before version and what we have now, so I really appreciate that.
Do you have a sense of how many responses so far?
Fewer than 100 as of about 2 o'clock today, which kind of surprised me. So anything we can do to
how long is it live?
Push that. Just a week.
And how long?
How much longer will?
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 weeks to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to actually take the survey?
It's intended to be 5 minutes, but
it took me 10.
In my experience, if you did take the time to review some of kind of the material that we hope people will take a moment to review before you take the survey, it's probably closer to 10 minutes.
So
Which is a long time to take a survey, truthfully. But
if someone's watching this tonight, could you show us on our website how to find that? Thanks, Jack.
You're welcome. You're really testing me here. Let's see.
First meeting, you put him on the spot.
Scroll down.
Go to SpanishFork.org and then go in the search bar and put General Plan Survey. That would be my guess.
Don't help
Let's
him
have
out.
Jack
I think
teach
you
us.
can maybe even go
Oh,
like
I'm not tech
this.
savvy, so that's my only option.
/ general plan.
So you can even do SpanishFork.org/general plan, which is what I entered in, and then this is where
Okay.
this link gives you the information Dave was talking about beforehand, as well as the survey.
You just click above that QR code.
Awesome. So lots of information on that page. Okay.
And I think there was a link above. Is that right?
it's actually right there. Yeah,
Right there.
That's it.
That is a horribly titled link.
Could we put that like in red or like a red underline or
Or
something?
change it. Change the name.
You can put your
Link to survey.
Yes, much better.
There you go.
Give us a few hours.
Take the marketing off of it.
Sometimes consultants don't get it right.
I don't know when that would be.
Right now.
Qualtrics Experience Management. You mean that?
Yeah, maybe that's why there's
That's not a
only
good enough clue.
100.
Just two marketing opportunities in there.
I'm glad we looked at that.
They think they're taking something about the Jazz or something.
Yeah, exactly.
5 for the fight.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Travis probably has the link already on the YouTube there.
There's more. Just a couple of other thoughts on the general plan project, and one thing that we've kind of decided on. So I want to get your, hopefully we'll get your blessing on a change tonight as well. But
Sorry, we're back to the beginning.
yeah, I have a cheat sheet here that I want to use. So thanks, Jack. Boom, right there. I've really appreciated the discussion that you've had in your last couple of meetings about our general plan project, and there was some conversation in the last meeting as well about this station area plan that we're doing. Two projects that we've lumped into one project, but they really are distinct animals, and they're distinct in a couple of different ways, and I really want to just touch on what those are and kind of what a lot of people think the future for one of them is, which makes it even more distinct than the other one, and then talk about a change in process going forward from here. So to start with, as was discussed by several of you, and I think Kevin mentioned, general plans, we know that they are required. A city like Spanish Fork has to have a general plan. A city with zoning, you have to have a general plan. Now that's a little bit different than a stationary plan, because you only have to have a stationary plan if you have, like, for example, a commuter rail stop in your community. And with that, even, you only have to have a plan if you want to be eligible for certain things. I mean, you could today not have a stationary plan and still, for example, have like a front runner stop in your community. That being said, today, both general plans and stationary plans, they're advisory documents. So following the typical course of business, legislative bodies, city councils, they adopt general plans. And when somebody proposes a law, a zone change, for example, you still have the ability to decide whether or not you want to follow your general plan or not. You are not compelled to follow the general plan. Does that make sense? I don't want to belabor that point. That's a big deal. In many other states, that's not the case. There are regional authorities and state authorities that review zoning applications and different things like that to make sure that cities are following their general plans. It's not that way in Utah. We still have local control. Now, with the stationary plan, even though it is advisory, there are certain aspects of it that, for example, are a lot more like the moderate income housing plan which is an element of the general plan, than the land use element of the general plan that is, again, totally advisory. With the moderate income housing element, we have to report on that. And like we've talked about before, an entity from above reviews that report and they check for compliance. And if you're not compliant, there is a consequence that has become very real in recent years. Station area plans today are a lot more like that than they are a simple advisory general plan. And the speculation is that, as for example, we are required as part of a station area plan to have a 5-year kind of action or implementation plan element to it. Today, cities don't get necessarily reviewed on how closely they follow that part of it. The scuttlebutt in the planning world is that at some point in time, perhaps in the near future, the legislature is going to make that, again, more like the modern income housing plan, to where there's some compulsion to follow those different things. But maybe just to focus on the last part that I think's particularly relevant. And again, it goes to the idea that there are consequences of having a station area plan, and they're not all bad, frankly. If you have a station area plan, you qualify for some funding potentially. That is, if your station area plan is compliant with the regulations that have to be followed, to, after it's adopted by a city council, get adopted by a regional entity. And in our case, it's Mountain Land Association of Governments that has organized and that facilitates a committee that decides whether or not different cities' station area plans comply with the necessary regulations and therefore get a passing grade. That entity meets several times throughout the year, and been in a number of the conversations where they've talked about different cities' plans. Some have passed on the first go, others have not. So there is, I haven't wanted to use the phrase big brother, but there's a different level of regulatory body that reviews those plans. But if you have a compliant plan, which incidentally, part of that as well is you also have to have a compliant moderate income housing plan, then you're eligible for phrases TIF, transportation, investment fund funding, or TTIF, transit transportation investment fund funding. You're eligible for those things. And then also, as you implement your station area plan, state law has provided some protections that you don't get with other land use actions. A higher bar that has to be met for somebody to have a qualified referendum action, and the bar is higher for somebody to be able to make application for a referendum, some different things like that. But again, different animals, a little bit different consequences with each of the documents. The station area plan should fit well within kind of the framework of your overall citywide general plan as a land use piece to the general plan. So what we're proposing is that after this next survey effort is complete, which to date all of our public outreach, public engagement, and different things like that, those have been done by covering both of these two projects in one. We think it makes good sense to bifurcate kind of the process of having those together at this point, so that the general plan would proceed forward, and we would expect to bring that for you later this year in the fall for adoption. But particularly because of where UTA is at on their planning for a commuter rail stop in Spanish Fork, frankly, I think that's imminent, that we will get some direction from UTA by way of what that looks like. And I believe that until we get more insight from UTA, and to a lesser degree UDOT, on a new interchange maybe layout for the same part of the community, it makes good sense to wait to finalize the station area plan part of the project. So we've talked with our consultants. We've talked with the folks at MAG that have provided quite a bit of funding for this project about that idea of taking things with the station area plan just one step slower. Then with the general plan, we haven't talked at all about a year-long difference in the process, probably at the most 6 months. But does that make sense? And if so, do you have questions or concerns?
I like it. There's too much happening at the same time. I like separating them.
It also makes it less convoluted when we're having the conversation.
Yep.
I completely, I mean, that for me is one of the biggest benefits of separating the two. It has been hard to message each of them the right way. Yep. And yet at the same time, I'll put in a plug for getting to where we are now, following the process that we've followed. I think much of the public outreach that we've done and different things like that, had we had two separate efforts go, maybe in subsequent years or that type of a thing, there's a certain amount of community fatigue that comes with projects like that, and I think by avoiding that, we've probably gained some benefit. But again, we've talked with the other entities that are helping us with the station area plan project. One other thing that we hope to get with this change is a different level of detail with our station area plan project, and MAG is seriously contemplating providing some additional funding to help us get a little bit more granular with the final product of our station area plan. So in my mind, that something more than a bonus, but that certainly is another advantage of going down this path. So anyway, that was the other thing I wanted to touch on about the general plan.
It's an interesting set of bullets. I mean, sort of a chicken and egg thing, right? The stationary plan is required to get TIF. You can't possibly get one built without TIF. It's weird. It's weird. How do you have a 5-year action plan for a stationary plan that doesn't have a station in it?
It was written in the state legislature.
Yeah, it's applied to future stations, but the application was meant for current stations. So it's a little bit tricky. Yeah. I like the planning, don't get me wrong, but the requirements associated with it are a little bit different when you don't actually have a station sitting there. And you may not have one for a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, likely our action plan, it's going to be pretty light for the next several years. So,
how much deference do you think we get in some of the conversations we have with UDOT and other entities where we don't have a location, right? I mean, it's so future that
it's big.
It's just we want one there. We just don't know where, right?
Near the freeway.
How much deference do you think we get? And I hope we get a lot, but any insight from any of your minds? Jared as well. I don't know if you have any insights, but Dave.
When we talk to the folks at UTA, they're in an interesting position now given what they're doing with an environmental assessment. So I feel like our conversations are a little bit reserved. Like they're less than entirely forthright because they're considering a number of different options, and it has to be that way until they get to a certain point in their project. But with that said, I think right now it's a ton of deference, right? Because they will say, we don't know that. We don't know that for sure. But that being said, there have been a number of studies done in the past that I think have painted a really clear picture as to what the likelihood is and that type of a thing. So they've been very supportive of us doing a station area plan now, and I think they look to take advantage of that planning work as they finish their work. I think the fact that we're doing a station area plan that at least to date has been focused on the part of the community that it's been focused on makes it easier for them in the end to look at that area as being favorable in Spanish Fork as an appropriate place for a stop, speaking generally. But they've given us a lot of latitude to date.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thank you, Dave.
I like it.
Any other questions for Dave on that?
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody, for your presentations and information tonight. If there's no other business that needs to come before the City Council in this session, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the closed meeting.
I move to adjourn to closed meeting to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form of water right or water shares, and of the character, professional competency, or physical or mental health of an individual.
Got it. Motion made by Councilman Cardin.
Seconded
by.
Excuse me, Mayor. We do need to say the location of the meeting,
Oh.
believe it or not, in the motion. This is
Individual-
something that came up recently.
Into the Explorer Room.
Gotcha.
Amend it to add
You're
into
going
the
to
Explorer
amend your
Room.
motion. All right.
The Explorer Room.
Okay.
Thanks, boss.
Do you accept?
Yes, second.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Cardin, seconded by Councilman Took. A roll call vote here. Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Cardin?
Yes.
And Councilman Took?
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned to closed session. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.